Tarkov has had a lot of ebbs and flows when it comes to who's playing it, when they are, and why they're playing it. Everyone has their reasons for booting up the game, especially after the first couple of months, when the hype of a new patch and wipe has effectively worn off. Some still enjoy the loop of completing tasks to level up and earn rewards, others enjoy the combat and trying to engage in as much PvP as possible, and the rest might just enjoy building cool weapons and kits, taking them into raids and seeing what happens. I would personally fit in that latter box. I really enjoy Tarkov when I have the freedom to build weapons that I think look cool and, while not being the best in slot, can still be effective regardless. It's no surprise that since we're at over the 120-day mark for this most recent wipe, grumblings across the community have begun to take shape, and everyone is entitled to their opinion and personal grievances with what's either good or bad with the game at any point. And while most sentiments I honestly agree with and uphold, I still find ways to enjoy the game, even if it means playing it much differently than I normally would. My own pessimistic sentiments about the future of the game aside, I really do strive to find fun ways to re-engage with Tarkov that isn't just trying to use guns that I'm accustomed to and fight other players and bosses alike. And I've had some luck with that over the past couple of weeks. Recently, I've made some videos going through my experiences with using weapons in strange ways, and it made me realize that Tarkov, in all honesty, through all its BS that we've put up with for many years now, really still has infinite replayability, even in a state that it's currently in. There aren't many games out there that have this level of replayability, where you're doing the same 30-second gameplay loop, but each experience, depending on how you engage with it, can be completely different. Some examples for me that have been able to achieve this, at least in the multiplayer realm, are PUBG, DayZ, and of course Tarkov. PUBG because when it was at its absolute peak experience, even though at that time we only had one map, it was perfectly balanced and quite the experience to have multiple times. No other map in PUBG has been able to capture that feeling even after all these years. Now, to be fair, we have been playing it for many years, so the newness of the game has wavered a little bit, but I still look back very fondly at the game and still enjoy it every now and again, but only if I get to play a Rangel, because the other maps are just not as good. DayZ is an even better example of this. You have a handful of maps that you can play on, and every single time you load into that game as a fresh character, your experience will be dramatically different every time. Loot is in different places, you'll encounter zombies in different areas, and your interactions with other players will always be different, unless you manage to find the same people more than once. And even if you only play one map, like let's say Chernarus, that map is so huge that you can visit different towns each time depending on where you spawn. I don't play it as much because it feels like it takes a little too long to get going in that game sometimes, but man, when you do get going, I can absolutely see getting that bug and just wanting to play more and more, and like a 2, 3, 4 hour session, I can easily see that happening multiple times. And Tarkov is not that different. In all honesty, DayZ is probably the best example out of these three, but since I've put the most amount of time and experience into Tarkov, it makes sense why my feelings are a little bit different and why I think Tarkov has also infinite replayability. There are 9 maps in the game currently, and apart from maybe Factory and Labs, any of the big outdoors maps, your experience will differ greatly every time. As a customs main, even though I have played that map 1,000 times easily, early, mid, late game, it still feels like the best map to have a true, authentic Tarkov experience. I want to branch out to other maps like Woods and especially Streets, but I just feel the most comfortable on Customs. The pacing of that map, if you aren't rushing through it, feels very balanced as you'll experience AI, scavs, bosses, and players across the whole map. There are plenty of great loot spots throughout, and the map's extractions just make sense. You spawn on one side, and most of the time you just need to get to the other side. Pretty straightforward, right? There are spots for long-range shooting, lots of close corners encounters, and everything in between. It has everything you need for that perfect Tarkov raid. Those ones where you want to tell your friends what happened, and you get to show off all the awesome loot you managed to get your hands on. If your experience with Tarkov recently has been very bleak, there is nothing wrong with taking 5 on the game and going to play something else, or at the very least just play it a little less often or just for as long in one session. Personally, I can't do long sessions of Tarkov anymore, especially if I'm having bad raids. It feels so painful to just watch your money go down as you build kit after kit to lose in the first 5 minutes of a raid. No game that I've played has the highs and lows that Tarkov does. It happens to everybody at some point, an unfortunate string of events that leaves us feeling completely deflated and demoralized to even do so much as a single scab run. The game has its moments where it does not feel good to play, whether that's UI issues, network issues, or problems outside of your control. Everything compounded together creates this ugly experience that we all know should be better by now, but unfortunately it isn't. So, one of the ways that I have been able to work through all that bad that Tarkov can bring is playing the game in ways I normally don't. I've done this with purpose 3 times now, and honestly, as painful as those experiences might be to watch from an outside perspective, they are genuinely fun and help reinvigorate myself with that desire to boot up the game. You don't have to try these out verbatim yourself, but even just adding one simple restriction or wrinkle in your normal gameplay loop can make Tarkov kind of go back to when it was fresh and interesting. It also doesn't have to be something as elaborate or complicated like hardcore Tarkov, but that's most certainly an option if you're really trying to break the mold. These kinds of situations force you to play differently and really think outside of the box about how you engage with its systems and the world around you. After all, variety is the spice of life. Whether it's a unique weapon build, using a gun in single fire, smaller mags, whatever you come up with, anything that takes the monotony out of just playing Tarkov can really breathe life into it once more. Tarkov can sometimes feel like a living organism. There are so many moving parts that make this game work, that when one piece isn't up to snuff, the rest of the game suffers greatly. And even though the horizon has some very promising changes coming, my mentality with that has been, for a long time now, I'll believe it when I see it. In the meantime, I've been able to re-enjoy a lot of aspects of Tarkov by just playing differently than I normally would. This game really does have infinite replayability, even in this state, if you're willing to work through it and look past all the crap that it has to offer sometimes. You just gotta think outside of the box a little and be comfortable not being comfortable for some time. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Leave a comment down below if you experience the Tarkov blues yourself, how you combat those feelings, and be sure to subscribe for more videos about those feelings creeping up once more later down the line. I hope to see you in future ones.